Jets fans? This is Ramon from Jets Guru, aka at Guru Jets on Twitter. Hey, you are now watching Jets Guru Live. Go Jets, 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 Jets.
I would never back down, y'all giving up, I would never tap out. Y'all capping, I would never cap out. Made it out the mud from the back of my dad house. I was so selfish, living with a death wish. Shit was so tempting, ignoring my blessings. Always in bed, but never felt rested. Living so fast, could've died, I got arrested. Mine was a prison and I was a victim, but I was a villain, was losing my vision. I felt something missing with every decision. I think to myself I should be more forgiving. The devil was hitting, but I battled back. Before it was too late, I got back on track. Got used to depression and panic attacks, but I kept walking through hell and I never looked back. Won't ever back down again. Life's been throwing me challenges. I've been staying on track with it, and I will keep it going to the very end. When my life's put to the test, I will not accept second best. I will never back down, I will never hold back. Success up on my mind and I want it so bad. I will never hold back, I will never hold back. I will never back down, I will never hold back. Success up on my mind and I want it so bad. I will never hold back, I will never hold back.
I'ma let them know that every time you hear me on the track I be in high resolution. But my last solution didn't really combat abusive habits like inherited, I'm scared that I go back and use it.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Jets Guru. Yet another episode, a Thursday comes, and you guys join me, and I'm super excited about that. Got my boy JR back there, putting this show together, making us look clean for the people. You know what I mean? I'm growing my beard in here. I want my beard up to here. I'm trying to get it to touch my eyebrows, and so I'm training my beard so I'm not as crisp, but JR is saving us, keeping the show crisp, keeping the looks crisp. Super excited to have you guys join us each and every week. The support has been amazing, not just here, but in the audio show too. So, I love it, and I just love all the excitement you guys have. Make sure you're sharing the show, please. We don't talk politics. We don't curse and none of that. So it's family-friendly show, just a bunch of Jet fans together, talking Jets football the best that we can. And, what a week, huh? What a week it was. We talked about on Jets Guru so many times about if, we needed to empower Sam Darnold if he was going to be the Jets quarterback. And everything that we saw in the offseason was pushing towards this not empowering Sam Darnold. And it was getting to the point where I said, right before Zach Wilson had his pro day, I believe that Thursday night before his pro day, I said, if the Jets go there and, they like what they see, they need to get this done quickly. There's no reason to play mind games. There's no reason to try to finagle another pick from someone that's not there, because if for some reason you have to keep Sam Darnold, you want to empower him going into the season. You don't want him to say, oh, well, we didn't like the other kid, so I guess you could stay for a little while. I don't think that's the way you start off a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator and a new way of life. I think it's foolish for people to think that. I think it's stupid foolish to think that. Why would you want the Jets to continue the same model of thinking that's always get them in trouble? As Jet fans, we can't be Jekyll and Hyde about everything. We can't say we want one thing and then on the other hand, not the other. We were a 2-win team last year. 2-win team. What are you really expecting out of what the Jets are going to be this year? Zach Wilson, Deshaun Watson, I don't care who it is. It's a 2-win team that had holes on the offensive line. You still needed another outside receiver. You still don't have a feature running back. You still didn't know about cornerback. You still didn't know about quarterback. You still didn't know if Mosley was coming back at inside linebacker. You have no outside pass rush, both from the defensive end position and from the outside linebacker position. You have a rookie safety who had limited playing time last year, who is now going to be playing alongside Marcus May, and you tagged Marcus May instead of giving him a long-term deal. There's a lot of holes on this football team, And so for me to just sit there and say to this guy that we're just going to hand over the franchise to Sam Darnold without taking a second, I think is absolutely foolish. He's one of the worst rated quarterbacks over the last 3 years. We've spoken about it time and time again. We don't have to go into all the details of why Sam Darnold was bad. We know why he played bad football. A lot of it has to do with the Jets. A lot of it has to do with Sam Darnold. It was really unfortunate that that young man had to play under Jeremy Bates. Me and Krista would have talks about this over and over and over again about how much better he would probably be if he was able to throw before he got here. If he was before Jeremy Bates got here, if we were able to get him in, I thought it would be a good situation for him. But I think Jeremy Bates slowed his progression down, didn't fix any of his offense didn't really fix any of the problems that Sam had, which was in college, which is a turnover, a little like gunslinger type of mentality. And when he got to the pros, it just never cleaned up. And I'm very big on the third year doing that. And so for me, looking at the team, I'm going to myself, how good do you expect this team to be under Sam Darnold in one off season? And I'm putting my career on the line as a GM, as a head coach, my first head coaching job. I am going to say, here, Sam Darnold, take the keys when I have the number 2 pick sitting in my pocket, when I have money to back him up, and when I have 8 additional draft picks after Zach Wilson, which is now, I think, 10 or 11 additional draft picks after Zach Wilson, where I could build my team around him, including 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years. So it would be 3 if you select Zach Wilson. So 3 first-rounders over the next 2 years. I think 3 second-rounders or 4 second-rounders, and then another 3 third-rounders. You're talking about good value here. You could really change the face of your franchise. And what has Joe Douglas been preaching the whole time? Building through the draft. Well, he didn't draft Sam Darnold. It'll be his third playbook. It would have been a ton of pressure. It's even a lot of pressure for Sam Darnold going to Carolina if he's the starting quarterback and they don't hold on to Teddy Bridgewater, because there's going to be expectations right off a rip. You have McCaffrey. You have Samuels. You have not Samuels. You have DJ Moore. You have Robbie Anderson. You might be in position to draft another guy. So Sam Darnold's going to have real life pressure on him. We're going to know real quick what type of guy he is and what he's going to be moving forward. There's going to be no excuses because he's going to have the talent that he did not have in New York. But, looking at this, I think it's a good move for both parties. And here's another thing. We spoke about this before. Joe Douglas put Sam Darnold in a good situation with this trade. Because let me tell you, all the reports were saying from the top guys that it started at a 4th-round pick. That is what they valued Sam Darnold at. He was a 4th-round pick. Joe Douglas apparently said, no, that's not good enough. And then they started working from there. I think getting a 2, I think getting a 4, 2 next year, a 4 this year, and a 6, I think that's good compensation for a guy who was dead less in quarterback play. Listen, everyone says, well, the Jets were awful. Gardner Minshew looked better than Sam Darnold, and he played for the team that is getting Trevor Lawrence that's going to replace him, and he looked better than Sam Darnold. And Jacksonville, if you watch their games, they were god-awful too. So it wasn't a good match for Sam with the playbook, with the talent, and his progression as a quarterback. He has an opportunity to start over. The Jets have an opportunity to start over, and for once, everything is in lockstep with this football team. And that's what I love the best, right? Because we talked about at the beginning of the show when I started speaking here, and I haven't stopped speaking, and I'm going to get the other guys' opinions in a second, all right? You don't want to keep – you learn from your mistakes, and the Jets have learned. It seems like they're learning now. If you're going to get a GM, you let the GM pick the head coach. If you're going to get the head coach, you let the head coach pick his staff. If you're going to let the staff – if you're going to let them pick the staff, you let the GM and the coach pick players that fit the scheme, not just big names. The Jets were all off center. Ever since Rex Ryan, they have been off center, hiring GMs and coaches who didn't hire each other, all going right to the owner, hiring outside resources, this, that, and the third, all over the place. Quarterbacks that weren't drafted, go to the next guy. It's a lot when you listen. LaFleur is going to be a first-time offensive coordinator, okay? This is a big thing for him. This is a big thing. Like, let's get out of our own selfish brains for a moment, right? And think as human beings. Have you ever got a promotion at work, right? That is a huge promotion. I'm talking about big salary or a big just bump in position that's really going to help you and your family out. This is what LaFleur just got. He is the offensive coordinator of an NFL football team. And if he does well over the next 2 to 3 years, most likely will get a shot to be a head coach in the NFL. How many people could say that? He comes from a line of head coaches now that and I'm just saying, listen, it's a big time thing. And to just hand that off to Sam Darnold and say, let's go for a ride again, it just didn't really make any sense. And that's what I'm saying. And honestly, all the people in the media, and I know the Stephen A. Smiths and all these different people, right, who aren't even connected to me, honestly, and they always talk crap about the New York Jets, regardless of what they do. They're never going to get any love. They're gloating over Sam Darnold. But when the Jets were playing with Sam Darnold, these same people were dissing, oh, well, these are the New York Jets, right? But now because Sam Darnold is in a different spot, oh, now all of a sudden he has untapped, unlimited potential. Untapped, unlimited potential. This is what all these people are talking about. Well, Chris Canny didn't think that. But you know why? Because he played football and he was in New York and he attacked passers and he just doesn't believe in it. You talk to most of the people that are in New York and they're going to tell you Sam Darnold is not it. Not for this spot. Maybe somewhere else. He is not it right now. There's too much on the line right now, including giving him money. And we talked about all the pieces from the very beginning. It looked like it was trending right towards drafting a quarterback. Everybody was talking, no, Sam Darnold, they got to keep Sam Darnold. Everything, the money. When is the last time when are the Jets going to be in position again? Yeah, I guess they're the Jets, right? If you have that attitude, they'll be back there again, right? But if they clean this up, and if you believe in Saleh and you believe in LaFleur, we're not going to be here again. And honestly, I think the Jets are going to be in last place in the division this year, but I don't think they're going to be a 2-win football team. I think they're going to be like a 5-win football team. And I think all of that capital that you got for Jamal Adams, you were going to have to use to trade back up to find a guy that you want, because you don't want to get stuck like you did with Mark Sanchez, where the guy above you got the prize in Stafford and you got Sanchez. Because Sanchez and Stafford are two completely different quarterbacks. So if you believe that Zach Wilson is another one of those guys that's going to pop, you got to take him. You got to take him because you know for 100% fact that this is it. This is big time for the Jets, man. If we make a mistake here, right? If we make a mistake, okay, your team is done for another 10 years. Because they're going to ride out with this rookie quarterback for like 3 years, right? 4 years. Let's say he's like Sam Darnold, and then he's got to be out of here in 4 years. Then you're probably going to – I think the Jets might go to a veteran standpoint for a little bit, because if the defense and the running game and different things are working, and then you try to find your young quarterback again, then that takes a couple years to get that going. So you're looking at another 7 to 10 years before you get back to where you get another young, developed quarterback who's leading your football team. So this is huge, okay? So this is you, and they are not willing to take that chance with Sam Darnold with the keys. They'd rather give it to the Panthers and say, you see if you could revive his career and turn him into a top 10 quarterback. Ramon, what was your initial feeling when Sam Darnold got traded, and do you think the compensation was fair?
I think the compensation was more than fair. I think I had it was happiness. Like I got just like everybody else is probably watching the show, I got like 50 people that tagged me in it, and they're like, oh, Sam Darnold's finally gone. I know you've been wanting it. And I was like, yeah, I wanted him gone. I wanted him at a place where he would have some type of stability, right? He's got Robbie Anderson back. He's got, I forgot his name. He's got 2,000-yard receivers, right? He's got everything he needs. He's got Matt Rule. He's got everything he needs, Joe Brady, to be successful. And that's what we all wanted for Sam, whether you were a fan of him or whether you weren't a fan of him. I believe the Jets won the trade in the long run. Sam's got 2 years to get it together, and what people don't understand is they're like, oh, look at the weapons he has now. He's going to be way better. He's going to be way better. I'm like, he's going to play better. Anybody that leaves Adam Gase, I feel like is going to play better. But have any of you actually seen the schedule that the Panthers have to play this year? Um, they've got to play the Bucks defense twice. They've got to play the Saints defense twice. They've still got to play the Bills. They still got to play the Patriots. They still got to play the Dolphins. Like all these teams that know Sam Darnold, they still got to play. And I really hope that he's successful. I really, really, really do. But he's got a lot to overcome. And from watching that video, he's still got his same trainer. And I was really hoping that he would switch trainers because that dude hasn't been helping him at all. Because the small things he should be able to do on his own, maybe not read defenses, maybe not do all those things, but the mechanics should have been fixed with that guy. So it's in my opinion, it's not looking great for Sam Darnold right now. He just got traded, I know, but there's some things that he probably should change for him to be successful in that. But I think for us in the long run, I think we're gonna win it out because I have faith in Joe Douglas. I get people all the time, just like everybody else, that tag me in things. They say, "Oh, well, the Jets are just gonna jet." But since Joe Douglas has gotten here, he hasn't. The only thing that I will say he did wrong is he let go of Robbie Anderson. Right? He admitted his mistake. No GM is gonna be perfect. No GM is gonna be perfect. But giving Joe Douglas the keys was the greatest thing that I've seen happen to the Jets in a very long time. And I think he earned those keys. They weren't even just given to him, right? He traded Jamal Adams. What did Twitter say when Jamal Adams left? What did Stephen A. Smith say? Oh, the Jets are gonna jet. They let go of the best strong safety in the league, which was not true. But they let go of the strongest, the best strong safety in the league. But you got 2 first-round picks, and now everybody's like, "Oh, look at the Jets! Look at all the picks they have." You know what I mean? Now that everything's trending up, we hired a culture-changing coach, right? Everybody's excited to see this dude, right? We've got a LaFleur in the house that's going to help our offense. I'm not going to say he's a generational talent quarterback, right? I'm tired of hearing that, but we've got a quarterback that has a ton of upside. A guy that when we get him, we don't have to teach him to stand in the pocket. He already can. You know what I mean? He's good on the outside. There's going to be things we have to clean up. Justin Fields has things he has to clean up. Trevor Lawrence does things he has to clean up. Might be small, but he has things he has to clean up. So I do think the Jets won in the long run. The key is it's not just on Zach Wilson. It's can the Jets hit on these picks that they got? I think they can. But can the Jets not just hit on the picks, but can they also keep the consistency? Can we keep these guys? I say keep solid, keep Joe, and I think that we'll win the trade long run.
Absolutely. And Krista, what was your initial feeling when Sam first got traded, and do you believe that the Jets won the trade, or do you think the Panthers won?
For me personally, I think that we won the trade. Sam Darnold's like that ex that you have that your parents love. He's a nice guy, but he's bad for you. He had to go, and this is something that had to be done. I'm glad that a trade was able to happen for Sam Darnold, and I think the Jets did win this trade because the fact statistically, Sam Darnold was bottom last. We talked about this on the show a ton of times, and a lot of it had to do with him not progressing and him still making the same mistakes, but also with Adam Gase holding him back. We needed to move on, and Sam needed to move on. I'm happy for him in his new start. And I think what a lot of people don't understand with all the picks that we have as well is that Joe Douglas doesn't necessarily have to use all these picks that he's accumulating. He could use it to move up. This is good ammo for Joe Douglas to move up to get more talented players around around Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, whoever he decides to draft as well. And I like this trade for Sam Darnold. I like the Carolina Panthers. I find it kind of funny, kind of ironic how it's Matt Rule and that whole thing happened, how we try to hire Matt Rule and the Jets, the whole thing. We know how that story happened. We didn't wind up hiring Matt Rule and all that. But I'm happy for Sam. He deserves a new start, and we deserve a new start as well. I mean, I was kind of tired on Twitter battling with Sam Darnold. Oh, we got to keep Sam Darnold. That wasn't right for Sam Darnold. The whole takes of, oh, we'll keep Sam Darnold and you're drafting, and we're going to draft Justin Fields or Zach Wilson. It's not right. You're going to make Sam Darnold sit and compete against these guys when you know eventually that one of these guys will take over. You're going to let Sam Darnold sit on the bench. That wouldn't look right on the Jets either. I think this was a great move to be able to get the acquired picks. I think the composition that the Jets were able to get, it was a lot more than I was expecting, because I didn't think for a while I was losing hope that we were even gonna trade Sam Darnold to get that value that we got. And I think this is the start. This is what we need to do to finally rebuild the right way. I talked about this in Jets Guru, that the Jets need to do things the right way, which starts building around a young rookie quarterback, and now we have more picks to build around Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, whatever quarterback they decide at number 2, and we're able to get them more weapons, and we fill all the holes that we do have on this roster.
Absolutely. And Vincent Pavone, get over yourself. Would you please? I mean, just because Krista says we when she's talking about the Jets, I mean, you're really going to be that picky about something that you're going to say, oh, well, you're not really part of the team. Meanwhile, your profile picture is of a Mets cap. So that's how people identify you on your social media profiles, of a Mets cap. Come on, man. You buy the gear, right? You go to the games without the fans. You're kind of not the teams don't exist without, well, people really doing that. You know, they exist on one level. They use a ton of money. The fans are a huge part of the game. So, yeah, if you use we, what's the big deal? People were born Jet and Met fans. Since they're little babies, they got jerseys, they got hats on that their parents gave to them. You're really going to jump on Krista, who's such a nice woman, because she said we? Get over yourself, you pompous jerk. Seriously. Now, back to talking about the New York Jets here. I mean, seriously, with the way that Joe Douglas is, and I know a lot of people were upset about the offensive line, and that's true. Okay, I was kind of like, what is Joe going to do here? But then when you look at the accumulation of the picks and you look at where the Jets are, we got to slow down a little bit, man. Sometimes, like, as Jet fans, we're rushing, but you're talking about a 2-win team. A 2-win team. Again, we detailed all the holes that this team had up and down. You're not going to fix all of them in one free agency. Joe tried that approach. He tried to fix the offensive line in one offseason. It did not work. Remember, just because you have money doesn't mean everybody wants to come and play for your team, especially a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 10 years. And especially when, for the most part, if you're a top-line player, you're going to get the same money pretty much anywhere. Someone may jump and break the bank for you, but that's usually a team that's reaching, like the Jets, and the Jets really aren't doing that anymore because they don't want to bring in guys just because they have names. They want to bring in guys that fit the scheme. You have a new head coach, you have a new offensive system, and you want to bring in guys that do that. And you could see by the signings that he made, he brought in players that fit in well with the system. And I think that's very important. And they preached what type of players go alongside of them. Like, they used Quinnen Williams and Mosley and these guys as pieces to say, hey, I think you're going to fit good around these guys. And I'm excited about that. Now, looking at the offensive line, going to pick number 23, the Jets, listen, they have some ammunition now. You get Zach Wilson at 2, or let's just say Zach Wilson and Fields, even though we know Adam Schefter tweeted or he texted Zach Wilson and said, welcome to New York. And that's what his words were on the Humpty and Canny show, is that he basically said it's a done deal. He's coming to New York. So Zach Wilson's going to be your quarterback. So you say, okay, how do we tack this offensive line? So you go, Connor McGovern's here. Do you believe that Connor McGovern is going to go back to the form that he was when people are looking at him like as a solid center coming out of Denver in free agency class? You know, they talked about his injuries, little nagging, things like that. If you believe that he could be that center, well, that's a good thing, but I'm still going to draft a guy, maybe a guy with a little bit of range who can move around a little bit. But I know at that guard position at 23, there's a few guys you could get. You got a guy, I think you have Rashawn Taylor there. There's a couple guys that down. You had Landon Dickerson. That's an Alabama guy. And then you have Creed Humphrey, which is a guy that I know a lot of Jet fans are kind of big on. I guess there's some limitations to him as far as some of the evaluations that they have here, but he does have good technique. There's some things that you could do as far as also not just the center position, but the guard position. You have Wyatt Davis at guard that you can go ahead and probably get. You know, he's rated very well at that center, and he has good technique. You know, if he has good coaching, he could do very well. You know, there's some guys. You have Oliveira Tucker, who, you know, they want to move inside. So to play that guard position. So there's a few guys in the draft that you could get at that 23 position. And you could even, listen, I don't know how Joe wants to attack it, but you could go both ways. You can go guard center. You can go guard at 23, then you can go center at 34 if you really want to get two young guys at that position. The Jets brought in a guy in free agency. I forgot his name already. I had it right on my brain. I already lost it. He's more of a depth guy. People are like kind of trolling the guy. It's like, relax, man. Come on. He's just a depth piece. He just got here. I mean, my gosh, he's not going to, just give him a break. I really think that Joe has the ammunition if he wants to go up and get someone even better. And listen, we talked about it. I don't know how this is going to go and what he's going to do. At the running back position, Jonathan, that's another position. You could draft a running back at 23, get a guard at 34, keep McGovern at center, and then your offensive line, I mean, is it where you want it to be long term? No, but again, we got to slow this down. The Jets got 9 picks the following year, and they also have reported $50 million in cap space. And so you don't have to look at this as we have to grab everybody in this free agency and this draft class, because more than likely it's not going to work. Let's be honest with you. In any free agency class, in any draft, it's a 50-50 proposition, right? Is the scheme, is the player going to play the same? Is everything going to come together? So you're telling me you want your GM to grab every single person that they can in that first free agency and every single person in the draft without really looking at it, does Creed Humphrey really fit with the Jets and what we're trying to do and what our offensive line coordinator is trying to do? Like, is this what we're trying to do as a team? Does he fit? So we've got to look at this long term. I'm pretty sure that Joe and the scouts are looking at the draft class next year at that position as well. This is not going to be something that's going to be fixed in a year and all of a sudden the Jets are going to win 10 games. Here's another thing. The Jets just can't neglect defense because you got a defensive head coach, right? You brought in a defensive head coach. Again, what if you draft a corner at 23? You still need another pass rusher. Shoot, you need 2 corners. So, I mean, there, he could go defense. And people might say, what the hell, man? You might say, hey, listen, if my quarterback is as good as he could be, right? He needs weapons. We gave him some weapons. What if the Jets trade up and get another receiver? I'm just saying, you never know. I mean, a lot of things could happen in this draft. Me personally, I think the Jets at 23, they go either corner or guard, because I think that they're going to let McGovern probably get another crack at center and not move him to guard. I like the prospects at guard better than I do at center for this draft. And so, in my opinion, I think I'd rather get a guard at 23 or 34 and then either get a running back or a corner at 23 or 24. Krista, what would be your preference at 23 and 34? And what are some of the players, if you have anyone in mind, that you would pick?
For number 23, I just want to talk a little bit about Creed Humphrey. He could also play guard as well, and I think he does fit a LaFleur-type offense. If you look at his game against Oklahoma, against Alabama, that championship game that helped him pave the way, he holds his own against our good friend Quinn Williams. This guy's a really strong guy, and he's a smart guy too. He's one of those tough players. If you like a guy like Nick Mangold, you're going to love Creed Humphrey. He's a very tough player. He's helped pave the way for Oklahoma. He never gave up a sack. And this guy barely gave up. I think he gave up like 1 sack his entire career at Oklahoma. And I think he's a solid guy that when you draft a guy like Wilson, he's a guy that can help the offensive line. He could play guard for a year, and then if McGovern doesn't work out at center, you could always put Creed Humphrey at center. He's a very smart guy. He can play multiple positions at the offensive line. I think for me, if Creed Humphrey is there, he'd probably be my number 1 preference. But here's another guy that I really, really like at cornerback. I like Greg Newsome, the second from Northwestern. He's a really good cornerback. He's the guy that would fit a Greg Sala type defense. He has very good ball skills, very good tracking skills. He has a potential to be a number 1 cornerback. And I think he'd do great in a Greg Sala. We don't have a number 1 cornerback yet, and I think this guy could start I think he has the tech. He has very good technique. He would fit the Greg Saleh type defense. He's a tough player. The potential's there to be a shutdown cornerback. I like him at 23 if he's there as well. And as far as pick 34, I think I'm with you as well. I think it has to be offensive line or even an edge rusher. I know you're gonna kill me because I'm talking a lot about Oklahoma guys. If Roddy Parkins happens to fall at pick 34 from Oklahoma and you pair him with Carl Lawson, I think you have to think about potentially drafting a guy his caliber. He might fall. The reason why I say 34 because he might fall because he does have some off-field issues because of his marijuana usage that might drop him back and might make teams hesitant. But he's a very, very talented pass rusher. He's a guy that helped the Oklahoma defense a lot. I think he's a guy that would be a good pair with Carl Lawson. He's very explosive. I think he has a lot of untapped potential that I think Saleh can get out of him in this defense. I think he would be my pick at 34 if he happened to fall because we need edge rushers. Him and Carl Lawson, that's probably be the edge rushers we've seen in a while. And this is talking about a team that has had a guy that can get to the quarterback. It's like the Calvin Pace days. So for me, I think I would go Ronnie Parkins. Ronnie Parkins for Oklahoma at 34 if he falls. I'd like Najee Harris too, but my gut is telling me that I don't think this team is going to draft a running back early. I just don't see it, unfortunately. As much as I'd love to be proven wrong, I don't think running back is an early possibility. I do see maybe at one point, I think we might draft a running back later in the draft, but what's what I think Saleh and what I think Joe Douglas is looking at. I think they want to fix the offensive line. I think they want to make sure that Wilson's okay. And also fix up the cornerback position because there is a big hole at cornerback. I don't think
Yeah.
that I think it was very telling at free agency that we didn't touch anyone and there was really nobody to be had. And I think we need that person. I think in the draft, I think to draft a cornerback early is definitely really possible. I think one of those two spots, if I had to bet right now, it could be a cornerback. But I'm not ruling out the possibility that you said, Dan, that maybe that there's a possibility that we could move up because a lot of these first round talents we've seen it before. They drop to the second round miraculously. We don't know why, but they happen to fall. It's possible that maybe Joe Douglas is thinking, oh well, Jalen Waddle's falling, or some guy, or whatever player that he may fall, or maybe J.C. Horn's falling, because I don't think he's falling to pick 23. I think you might have to trade up to get a guy like that. But if he starts to fall, Joe Douglas might be thinking, I need a shutdown cornerback, and this is a cornerback that I love that was top in my draft board starting to fall. That's also a possibility too. But I think for me in pick 23, I'm definitely going Creed Humphrey if he's there. I think you have to get that smart guy that's able to tell people what to do. I think you need that Nick Mangle type presence, and I know that's a strong thing to say about that young man, but I really like Creed Humphrey. That's not me just being biased. I've watched his tape. He held his own against Quentin Williams. I think he's the guy that I think in my personal opinion, you got to highly consider taking him unless a cornerback falls into your lap or it can be had if you move up. So Creed Humphrey at 23 and 34, I think I'm going the edge rusher route. I'm going to double dip at my Oklahoma Sooners and go with Ronnie Parkins because that talent, I know he has a lot. I know he has some baggage, but the talent there, a pass rusher to equate him with Carl Lawson at 4-3, I think that's going to be something special.
I thought you were an Alabama fan.
I love Najee Harris.
How disrespectful that you just skip over Surtain as well. He doesn't even get mentioned at all.
He's gonna go to the Cowboys. I think he's going to the Cowboys. So.
Well, listen, I'll say this about the draft is that if these quarterbacks, if it goes the way it might go, some guys are going to get pushed back in the draft. Because as other guys open up, right, another team might say, I didn't think this player was going to slide, so I guess he was higher up on our board. We're going to take him. So that means the player that they were going to take now drops down to the next team. So the Jets might have at 23 a player that they did not think was going to be at 23, which pushes them out of the expectation of getting that guard or getting that corner or getting whoever it is that you think. because there might be a receiver, there might be a running back that you like. I mean, listen, I know if you have a running back that you really, really like, I don't think I agree with you. Now that they got Tevin Coleman and they signed Josh Adams, I mean, how many running backs do you need? And are Harris and Etienne, are they that life-changing? Do you really believe that at 23 and 34? I mean, maybe if Etienne or Harris drop to 34, then you really think about it. Like, let's say that you get Creed Humphrey at 23 and Harris is sitting at 34. Now you're like, I got McGovern, I got Creed, I got Fant, and we'll just throw it together. We got Becton. We'll decide whoever gets that last guard spot. And now I got a legitimate running back. I got that quick kind of running back who can get outside with Tevin Coleman. I got Josh Adams. I got Ty Johnson. I got my receiving core. I kind of liking what it looks like right there a little bit. So, listen, when you're a 2-win team, any one of these players, as long as they hit, you just got to make sure they hit is an upgrade because we have holes everywhere. Honestly, you tell me take a corner at 23, great, because we need another one because now it takes pressure off of guys like Bless Austin. It takes pressure like guys off of like Hall. And so I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this. They get an outside pass rusher. Great, because we've been needing a pass rusher for a long time, and we need people to complement on the other side. We get a center. We get a guard. We get another dynamic receiver, and you wind up moving Jamison Crowder maybe for a low-end pick for a team that needs a slot receiver. Something, whatever. I'm just saying, you get anything at that point. As long as it pops and you hit and they're a good player, I don't care. Because the Jets are a 2-win team, and they got holes all over the place. But, Ramon, what are some of the players that you're looking at that you like at 23 and 34 that kind of gets you piqued in interest now that we pretty much know the number 2 is a quarterback?
So I think for us, I think there's a lot of factors, but we all know Joe Douglas, right? And Joe Douglas doesn't like to miss on his picks. He likes to be a man of his word. Like, again, we said earlier with Sam Darnold trading him to a place where he could actually succeed because he knew that he wasn't given that option with Mike McCagnon here, right? So I do think that at 23, as bad as I feel like you need a running back in a LaFleur offense, right, which I would think would be Najee Harris, but I do think that the same way you pair your quarterback with your coach, you pair your quarterback with his center, right? You want to go get Creed Humphrey. You want a guy, like you said, if he can battle Quinnen Williams at Bama, he's the guy that you want, and you want that communication there. You want a young center that's going to be there for a long time. You know, a young, healthy guy. I think that he's going to solidify his offensive line because, like you said, we got 4 running backs already. Not saying Tevin Coleman is our guy because I really, really like Najee Harris, and I think not picking him is going to be one thing that people, because nobody looks at offensive linemen and they're like, "Oh, that was a great pick," until like years later. You know what I mean? Like years later, and when he's shutting down a Nick Bosa and making him go to the other side, in those types of instances, you know what I'm saying? So, but I think that Joe Douglas, he already said where the battle is won, right? Is one of the trenches. So I think we're going to go Humphreys if he's even available. If he's even available.
Yeah.
So if not, he might go Wyatt Davis. Maybe, I don't know, but I like offensive linemen from Ohio State, man. I just do. But I think that's where we go. I personally, you know who I want? A lot of people like J.C. Horn, but I like Newsome. And I know that's probably our third option because I've been watching that dude's film, and he did great against Ohio State. We had where he was shutting down Justin Fields' option, and I hope Lino's out there because he had 1 touchdown, 3 picks that game. But anyway, it was he's a guy that like I'm not gonna say Revis, but he's a dude that you can leave him out there. He doesn't need any help from the safety, you know. Like he's a dude that he's like, hey, Marcus May, hey, you go worry about the other side of the field. I got this, and he's one-on-one anytime you see him. And open field tackling is amazing, which is always a need for the Jets, right? And then the other thing is he's stride for stride with guys the whole time on cuts, double moves, everything. He is right there. He's gonna be special. Now, he didn't have a lot of picks. He had like 1 pick, I think, his entire college career, right? But doesn't matter, right? Those picks are going to come because he gets his head around. If you're watching it, he always knows where the ball is. But he's usually forcing the ball to the receiver to a place that he doesn't want to be, and the ball is always off target. I think he's going to be special. If he's there at 34, that's the dude you got to go get. I feel like because he's going to be our lockdown guy. He's going to be put to the test his first year for sure too. because he's going to be heavily relied on. But yeah, so I'm thinking Creed at 23 and Newsom at 34, and I think they're probably just going to roll with Tevin Coleman. We got, like I said, we got 4 running backs, man, and they did a lot of work on the defensive line also. So I really feel like it's going to be offensive line. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like and Joe Douglas will spend every last dime we have. I know it's a draft, but he will spend every last dime we have in free agency next year and use all those picks to make sure nothing happens to his boy Zach Wilson. I guarantee you that.
That's what I'm saying. There's no rush to have this. We need to waste premium picks on just offensive linemen if it doesn't fit. If Creed Humphrey fits what you want, you take Creed Humphrey. You shouldn't have to go, I'm going to get a guard at 23 and then go get a center at 34 and then get a backup. You know what I'm saying? It's like this team has a lot of holes. If you find a corner there at that position that you like, then you need to take a corner too. And so you got to look at this as a long-term thing for this New York Jets football team. You can't just say, I'm just going to draft a guy here because I need a guard. Well, if he fits, bring him on in. So if you get Creed Humphrey in this draft, let's say, right? You get Creed Humphrey in this draft. Are you going to be happy with the Jets offensive line? I'll be happy with the offensive line for right now because I know it's not the end of the world. I know it's not the say-all, be-all of what this team is going to be. I know that the Jets have 9 picks next year. I know that they have $50+ million in next year to fill in who falls off in that next year. You know, you got Becton, and you get Creed, then you get Fant, and then you go, okay, maybe Van Rotten or one of these guys, maybe they're not worth any of this, right? Maybe McGovern does suck, so then we go ahead and we get another pick. You don't have to get in those first 2 picks offensive linemen back-to-back. I think you could go offensive lineman corner. I think you could go offensive lineman running back. I think you could trade up if you're really in love with a guy, if he's within reach. So there's some things that you could do there. But absolutely the Jets with one of those 2 picks has to get a guard or a center. I think you would be foolish to leave those first 2 picks and not get what you need on the offensive line because there isn't a lot there. And I know Jonathan said, is there anything in free agency you could do? I haven't looked at the free agency class for next year quite yet, but there's nothing really much you could do left over right now. The only thing I could say that you could do is when camps start cutting guys towards the end, you might be able to bring in someone to help your football team there. But at that point, with a rookie quarterback, which, again, we'll see what happens at the quarterback position with the Jets too. I don't know. You said you had some guy, but Brian Hoyer. I call him some guy because that's how I really feel about him. Coming in. I would like someone a little bit more established if I could. A lot of people are saying, what about Alex Smith? I like the fact that he's an actually solid quarterback, but with the leg issue and everything. But then again, how long do you need him for? So I mean, you're telling me you can't get 4 games of the Alex Smith hand off the ball, a lot of pre-snap movement, a lot of play action, different things like you can't handle 5 games of Alex Smith. People say, oh, yeah, but then what if Alex Smith is 5-0? Then there's all this pressure. Miami Dolphins had no problem pulling Ryan Fitzpatrick. No problem pulling Ryan Fitzpatrick out to get Tua some snaps because they thought that was important for his development. So you don't listen to everybody else. You do what you need to do. So, but I think a veteran quarterback who can act – Brian Hoyer is not going to push Wilson for a spot. He's just not. And so – what about, Teddy B coming back to New York? I don't know if Teddy B's going to be down for staying with the Panthers. Maybe you could swing one of those 6-round picks, back to the Panthers, get Teddy B to come on and run with your team. But I think getting a guy who doesn't push the needle for Zach Wilson, then it's like you might as well not just declare him starter from rip then and just let him go like that because, it's not going to be believable by the players. If you bring a guy in like Brian Hoyer that he's actually going to compete with Zach Wilson, that's not going to happen because Zach Wilson's going to look so good on the field with everything that he does that it's going to be hard not to start him. So the only thing that justifies not starting Zach Wilson is if you go, okay, I don't like what I'm seeing in camp for my offensive line. I have a nice veteran here that I can let start a few games. But just somebody that could push the needle a little bit and push the young man, I think would be nice. I know somebody was telling me about old Captain Morgan, taking that next step in his development and being the backup quarterback. Now, listen, Joe drafted him. All right. So if he feels that he could be a backup quarterback in the pros, I mean, let Captain run it then. Let me see what he's got in the preseason. Because he's gonna have to wait. Do we even have preseason anymore? Hold on. Do we even have preseason anymore?
I'm not
Did
even
they get rid
sure.
of that yet? Is that
I'm
something?
not sure.
I'm not even sure yet either. I don't know how they're. I don't know what we're
don't-
planning on doing with
We
that.
we
But
need that.
Yeah,
yeah, because
definitely.
we got to see. Yeah, we definitely. There's going to be some position groups. Honestly, corner is going to be a huge thing because if you let's say you draft a guy like Newsome, you're talking about Newsome, Austin. You're talking about Hall. You're talking about young guys that are really raw. So there's going to be a lot of competition there because they're all in their own right are going to want to compete. Obviously, Newsome's going to start if he gets drafted out of position, most likely. But Bless Austin and Bryce Hall are going to have a little competition. I think Bryce Hall's better skill set. I think it would be Newsome and Hall with Bryce filling in. But yeah, like something like that, I think could really work. Did they did Brian Poole happen to sign on with anybody quite yet? Does anybody know if he was
Not that
picked
I
up?
know of.
I mean, if he's not picked up, I mean, the Jets can extend another year deal to him and say, hey, man, we really want you back for another year. We liked having you in the building. And if I'm Brian, if no one's really knocking me down here playing for a guy like Saleh, it might be a good spot for him to finally maybe get on a team and be part of something. You know, I know the Falcons never really guaranteed him anything. Maybe the Jets put together a 2-year package for him. They have the money for it. He'd be an excellent slot corner, but I don't know how he wants to run things if Brian fits in what he wants to do. But, it's going to be a very competitive position. And I really think that, having those games would really help. And I mean, especially for the linebacking position, that's going to be kind of raw. I mean, except for Mosley and, a couple other guys. I mean, Hewitt, I mean, it's going to be a pretty raw unit as well. And even on the defensive line, I mean, they're young guys too. I mean, everybody's really young. Kyle Phillips will be back again.
Yeah.
Probably, all these guys are coming back, so it's going to be very interesting. I'm very, very excited. You're not going to see me get crazy. I'm not getting crazy anymore over the Jets. They got to show me from here on out. You got to show me something. I'm not just going to say Zach Wilson's going to be amazing. And I'm also not going to say Zach Wilson's going to suck. You guys are pathetic with that kind of stuff. Come on. Let's stop. Oh, well, what's the point of playing then? What's the point of hiring new offensive coordinators and coaches if you just think they're going to fail before it even happens? You wanted the owner to finally let the GM pick his own guy. The owner comes out and says he could pick his own guy. You're still not happy. The owner picks his own guy. He's a guy that's respected all across the league. He's not an offensive guru or anything. Just seems like a strong character guy. He brings on a young offensive coordinator that's going to be touted over the next 2 years or so. And you're still not happy? You think they're going to just fail? Everyone's in lockstep together. Everyone hired each other. There was no outside agency. Woody Johnson didn't come back from England and say, give me Robert Saleh. This was a pick by the GM. The coach picked the staff. The staff picked the scheme. It's all lockstep. They're going to fail. They're just going to fail, right? Come on, guys. Let's be honest with ourselves here, man. Let's stop the nonsense, right? You don't know. And you know how foolish you're going to look if it actually turns out. Shouldn't you be rooting for that? This would be different if this was their second or third year on deck. They just came in, for crying out loud. Give them a little bit of leeway here, but don't get crazy. Don't get crazy and tell me that the Jets are going to win 10 games next year.
Oh, man.
That's that kind of stuff. I don't care how good they look. This is a rebuilding football team with a lot of holes. Zach Wilson's going to struggle. I don't want to hear, we should have kept Darnold when Darnold's throwing touchdowns to Robbie Anderson and Zach Wilson throws a pick because he's a rookie, learn how to play defense. Come see me when Zach Wilson is in his third year throwing interceptions, looking at one receiver down the field. Then I'll come to you and say, he's not the guy. And if Darnold is playing well, I'll say Darnold is good, but I don't think he would have been that good in his fourth year coming back to the Jets. So,
and that's how, and I think that's going to be the issue next year. We're going to hear from everybody. ESPN's going to be all over it. If Sam has one game where he plays good, and we got versus a rookie, a guy that's been in the NFL for 4 years versus a guy that's a rookie and he's playing good. Again, like I say, we've seen Josh Allen. How long did it take him to become outstanding? 3 years. We gave Sam the same amount of time. So
3 years, it's got to be, and then you could start judging. And honestly, for Joe Douglas, I would say 1 more year. Give him this year, and then next year you could really start judging because, he had one draft, but this is really his team now. Now he drafts his quarterback. Most of these guys on this team, they're going to be Joe Douglas guys. So starting next year is really his football team. So he's going to be judge year 2 of this Saleh and on. And really, you got to judge Saleh and Zach Wilson year 3 and on and see, because, that's what you got to give him. And it's going to be tough, man, because you know what? The Dolphins are going to get better. The Pats are going to get better. The Bills, by the time the Jets get good, will probably start falling off a little bit at that point, trying to keep contracts and different people together. So the window for the Buffalo Bills is probably next year, the year after. But then again, if they hit on their draft and they do what the Ravens and some of these other teams have done over the course of the year, and when you have an elite quarterback, if Josh Allen takes that next step and becomes, or listen, Josh Allen could just do what he just did. You just do that. Do what you just did. Everyone's like, oh, well, when Josh Allen becomes an elite quarterback. Dude, did you see his stats? Did you see what his team did last year? I mean, he could just be that. If you don't think he's elite now, just have him be that, and I guarantee you he'll be in the Hall of Fame by the time his career is over. I'm just saying, if he keeps doing what we just saw, that's what's going to happen. Now, 2-3 years when his offensive linemen go and some of the team goes and he doesn't do well because the weapons fall apart, then that's a totally different discussion. Just like I told all you Sam heads, even the people that still believe in him, the same evaluation that you gave Sam Darnold when he was throwing in the rain at USC is not the same guy. He's not the same guy when it comes to that. But you do see some of the same problems he had when he was in USC. So keep that in mind when you're looking at all of that. And so this is a new start. Don't start killing Wilson until his third year, that's only fair. I give every quarterback year 3, because by year 3, you're supposed to show your franchise you're more than that. Like, you don't have to – the Jets could have still won 2 games, but if you're telling me that he's going out there and he's doing what Burrows or Herbert was doing, these types of guys who played with terrible offensive lines too, and then we're talking about a different story. And I think you're going to come to find out that Denzel Mims is a really good wide receiver. I think you're really going to. When you featured him in the first half of football games, he looked really well. And then the team kind of went away from it. Now, that's a little bit player, and that's a lot of bit scheme when it comes to featuring guys, because you have to draw up things for your players that work best for their skill set. And I think that's what this organization is starting to go to by bringing a guy like Saleh, who's a tape guy, who's a player guy, who's going to put guys in the best position to succeed. And you look at LaFleur, who I like the offenses, and it seems like quarterbacks do well in the offenses that LaFleur, Shanahan type offenses. They do well for quarterbacks. They simplify things. They do a lot of things within the motion, the pre-snap and stuff like that to help identify what the defense is doing, to give the quarterback a little bit of an edge in what they're seeing in the field, which should be all things that translate well to a rookie quarterback. And then if you can get a good running game going, you add that play action in there with someone with Zach Wilson's athletic ability, which you'll see when the guy gets out there and he starts playing. People say, well, I think that Sam Darnold's the same quarterback Zach Wilson is. Bro, I can't believe some of these professionals sometimes. Like, it's absolutely crazy that they get paid for this, and I get paid nothing. And it's crazy. It blows my mind. Zach Wilson is way more athletic than Sam Darnold. Just the way he moves around in the pocket, the way he moves on the outside, it's no question. Like, Darnold is just he's an athletic guy. Like, Zach Wilson is like a guy who can actually like run and get you like touchdowns and stuff like that. I think it's going to be very interesting to see this LaFleur offense with this quarterback. I won't say dual threat. I'm not going to go as far as saying that with Zach Wilson. He's still a thrower of a thrower of the football more than a runner of the football. But let's not forget, this guy had 10 rushing touchdowns. Okay, so this is somebody that can move with the football. So it's going to be very interesting, and it's not going to be limited. So, I really do think that if you have some issues on the offensive line, they could be repaired. If you don't get it in this draft, you could get it next draft, next free agency, and seal it up. But you're not going to be able to fix everything in a day. I think you have to be just excited if the Jets are able to pop at whatever position they wind up bringing in this draft. Let's just hope for good players. With that being said, listen, guys, I really appreciate all the support. You guys are amazing. Each and every week we keep growing, and we just wanted to keep getting better. We're going to have good discussions. And listen, be nice to people in the chat, please. I'm going to stick up for people when people are going to be like that, calling Krista out. Krista is one of the most passionate Jet fans I know. You say that she shouldn't use the words we, but this is the same woman that's going to these autograph signings, that are going to camp in the hot sun watching the Jets practice. Players know her when they see her, because her dedication going to all these places. And so, yeah, she may not own the team or anything like that, but she's a huge part of the fan base, which is a huge part of any sports organization. And that's why I wanted to bring the soccer culture over to football, because that soccer players would never be caught dead saying something like that about their fans, because fans are an integral part of the team, the chants, the amount of energy and passion that they give. It's so important to the game of soccer. And I think it's very important to the game of football, having huge crowds there, having people chanting and getting riled up. That's a huge part of the NFL experience. So don't come on here and try to disrespect somebody who's very nice and very kind to everybody that comes across to her. That's not how we're going to do things here at Jets Guru. And you're going to catch the boot for that if you continue behavior like that. Not because we don't want people to speak their minds, but because we don't want people coming on here just slandering people or coming on here and just making fun of people who are really trying to provide something for you guys, trying to provide a fun experience that you could come and learn about some Jets football and discuss Jets football like a community. And then you come in here with that nonsense. We're not going to have it. And
That's right. I'll boot you quick. I'll boot you quick.
Yeah, real quick. And so listen, guys, we appreciate all the support of the real Jet fans out there that love the community that Jets Guru provides each and every week, with the articles we do, with the podcast that we do, which you can find anywhere on pretty much any podcast you listen to, Thursday night shows, all our collaborations with Live Rounds and other Jet pages. We got Gang Greenhouse Football up in the house checking us out. We got Mr. CJ DeSimone. We got him doing his show. Like, you know, we're connected with a lot of people, and we all stick up for each other. So everyone's going to have the same opinion of Krista that I just laid out. So remember that when you go to other Jet pages. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate all your support. We will see you Sunday. Me and Kevin are going to jump on the audio portion of Jets Guru and talk about the trade and the future outlook with Wilson and how this offense can look. But appreciate all your support. Please check out Mr. Ramon down there at Guru Jets on Twitter. And please subscribe to our YouTube page. We're trying to get those views up on there so we can get some more support. Just go to YouTube, type in Jets Guru, and subscribe to watch the latest episode. So thank you so much. Catch you next week. You guys are amazing people. Be easy. Take care. Peace.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it.